Here's how I achieved this photo in 90 seconds or less. Firstly, I went to Asda to pick up a litre bottle of rum before heading into the studio to get it set up. I placed the bottle on the shooting table and set up 3 soft boxes, one behind the white backdrop and 2 at either side of the subject, so I could light the glass perfectly without there being bad reflections. This is my lighting diagram here. I took my camera, my lens and my tripod and placed it in front of the table. Also had a chopping board and limes to help spice up my final image, but ultimately decided against using this, as it didn't look too good for what I was going for in post-production. For my camera settings, I had my ISO at 100 because the studio lighting is powerful. I had my shutter speed at 1/125 to match the speed of the lights, and I set my aperture to f11 so that everything was sharp and focused. After shooting, I pulled up my images in Lightroom, finding my favourite before cropping it down and making basic edits. I masked the label of my bottle to lighten it up as it was quite dark. I also masked the background, turning exposure up all the way, making my background fully white so that my bottle was easier to cut out. I then pulled this onto Photoshop using the paint bucket tool to fill my background orange. I selected that colour using the eyedropper tool so that I could paint with a brush. I carefully coloured around the edges and the part of my bottle that you can see through, zooming all the way through to the small white reflections on my bottle to change them orange. I took a photo of the Morgans logo off of Google and filled it in black. I changed the opacity of it to 50%, added slight Gaussian blur, and I skewed it to a position where it looks like it is the shadow of the bottle. I then used the eraser tool to carefully remove parts of the shadow over the bottle, placing it behind of it. Finally, I added in my Captain Morgan's text logos. Here's my final image.